You just turned them down. They asked to stay friends after rejecting you, and you said no. Now you're sitting there wondering if you made a mistake, wondering if you were too harsh, wondering if a real adult would have just said yes and kept the peace. You didn't make a mistake. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that "let's be friends" offer showed up right when it did. What happens next depends on how they're wired, and I'm going to show you how to read their reaction like a map, one that tells you everything about where this actually stands. Here's the thing nobody tells you. An avoidant offering friendship after a rejection is rarely about friendship, not in the simple sense. When someone with an avoidant attachment style ends things or turns you down, a part of them still wants the option of access, not necessarily to you specifically, but to the certainty that you're still reachable if they need it. It looks like generosity. Often, it's just a safety net for them. So when you say no to that offer, you're not being cold. You're removing the safety net. And what happens next tells you almost everything. It tells you whether this person is doing real work on themselves or just performing growth for an audience of one, which is you. Stick around. Later in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact 3-stage reaction pattern most avoidants go through after you decline. I'll show you why the second stage is the one that trips almost everyone up, and the one specific response that means you should not, under any circumstances, let them back in. The first thing that happens after you decline is what I call the recalibration window. This is the first 48 to 72 hours. An avoidant who is actually doing the work, actually in therapy, actually building self-awareness, will go quiet. Not cold, just quiet. They'll respect the no without arguing it. If they text at all, it's short. It doesn't push. That silence is uncomfortable for you, but it's actually a good sign. It means they're sitting with the discomfort instead of outsourcing it to you. But if instead they escalate, that's different. If they suddenly become more available than they ever were during the relationship, showering you with texts about how much your friendship means to them, that's not growth. Researchers Mickey Linzer and Shaver describe this in their work on attachment behavioral systems. They call it deactivating strategies flipping into overdrive the moment access is threatened. The nervous system panics at the idea of losing you completely. So it produces urgency that looks like affection, but is actually alarm. A self-aware avoidant respects the boundary. They give you space without guilt-tripping you for setting it. But if they respond by intensifying contact, love-bombing you with reasons you should reconsider, that's your sign. Leave the conversation entirely, not just the friendship, the conversation. The second stage is where a lot of people get pulled back in, so pay close attention here. This is the part I promised you earlier. It usually happens 2 to 4 weeks later. This is when an avoidant who's genuinely working on themselves might reach out once, briefly, to check in without an agenda. No mention of getting back together. No mention of missing you. Just a normal, low-stakes message. Then nothing after that unless you respond. That's someone respecting your no while leaving a door open on your terms, not theirs. The version to watch out for is the "just checking in" message that somehow always lands on days that matter to you. Your birthday, the anniversary of when you met, a holiday you mentioned once. That's not coincidence. Couples therapist Stan Tatkin has written about this. Avoidant partners often need to stay implicitly close to someone without ever making an explicit, vulnerable approach. A perfectly timed casual message lets them reopen the door without ever having to say anything real. Diane Poole Heller's work on attachment repair points to consistency over time as the real marker of change, not a single well-timed message that happens to land exactly when your guard is lowest. A person doing real work checks in without an agenda and lets it end there. Someone still avoidantly attached times their contact around your emotional vulnerability. If every single message conveniently lands on a day you're already soft, that's manipulation with better timing, not maturity. Now here's the reality check. I don't want you leaving this video thinking every avoidant who reaches out is scheming. Most of them aren't consciously doing this. Attachment researcher John Bowlby's original work reminds us that these patterns form in childhood as survival strategies, not character flaws chosen on purpose. The person reaching out to you might genuinely believe they're being kind. Intent and impact are two different things. You're allowed to protect your peace from someone's unintentional harm, just as much as intentional harm. If this is hitting close to home right now, drop a like so I know this is actually helping. The third and final stage is the real test. It's the one that separates someone who's actually changed from someone who's just gotten better at the performance. This happens months down the line, sometimes even a year later. That's when they reach back out with something that looks like real accountability. Sue Johnson's work on emotionally focused therapy describes genuine repair as specific, not vague. If what they say sounds like, "I've grown a lot," with zero specifics about what that growth looked like or what they'd do differently, that's a headline with no article behind it. Real accountability names the exact moment they hurt you and explains what's different now. If they can name it specifically, that's worth hearing out. If it's vague self-praise with no substance, you already have your answer. You don't owe them a rerun. Here's what that difference actually sounds like. Vague is, "I know I wasn't great to you. I'm working on myself now." Specific is, "When you needed reassurance after we fought, I shut down instead of showing up. I've been in therapy learning to stay present instead of disappearing." One is a headline. The other names the exact behavior, the exact moment, and what they're doing differently. If they can't get that specific, they haven't actually done the work yet. They've just learned the vocabulary that makes it sound like they have. I want you to sit with something before you go. Turning down that friendship request wasn't a rejection of them as a person. It was you choosing not to stay in a role that only benefits them. That's not bitterness. That's self-respect with better boundaries. If you thought of someone specific while watching this, send it their way. Chances are they're sitting exactly where you were. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.